Hey, all, welcome back to the Stuff About Money podcast. I am your co host, Erik Garcia, and this is a special mini series that I am recording with a guest co host, a friend of mine, Billy Wagner. Don't worry, y'all, Xavier is still with me. Billy owns an insurance agency down in Florida, and we wanted to explore this idea that insurance professionals are givers. My fifth pillar to building financial security is give to others. And Billy and I wanted to have engaging conversations with a diverse group of insurance professionals to hear their journeys of how they're creating legacies for their families and leaving a meaningful impact in their communities through generous acts. And we do all of that in under 12 minutes with each of our guests. So listen in and prepare to be inspired.
We are so excited to be continuing this giving presentation journey, and we've done many of these where we're national. We're going international now because we're getting somebody from Canada, one of the top agents in Canada. Probably needs no introduction, but runs one of the top insurance agencies called Excalibur, and he's a very tech-forward leader, and he is a great resource. And this subject in giving is no stranger to Jeff, and we're so excited to have you with us, Jeff.
Billy, Erik, great to be with you both. I know you guys are dealing with some really cold weather down in the south, so welcome to what we have in Canada all the time. So you have a lot more empathy with us Northerners here, right? So anyway, excited to be on your show, and thank you for giving me an opportunity. So
Absolutely.
thanks for being here.
The first thing we wanted to do is just ask kind of what has been your inspiration and motivation for giving. And I will tell you that you were somebody that probably didn't know that inspired me early on with some of the stuff you were doing very early on. I remember you giving a $25,000 check, and I was like, that's the most money. Like way back when I heard about that, I was like so inspired by it. But tell us what's been your inspiration and motivation for giving.
Well, that's a great question, Billy, and thank you. It's funny, but you inspired me with your book in tribute to your brother, and the money going to, I believe, is Wounded Warriors. When Una and I wrote a book, 24 things you need to know about insurance to cover your assets, we actually donated the money to cancer. So I just want to throw it out that you inspired us too. And meeting you in 2012 in McLean's Mastermind was definitely a pivotal point. I think the biggest thing is the law of reciprocity has been big. And when you grow up in a small town, you just give. You watch everybody give as you grow up. You see a lot of people donating time in our Kinsmen and Connect clubs, scout leaders, coaches. I grew up and I had a lot of people that gave to help me out. So they always say it takes a village to raise a child. So that giving thing is kind of baked into my DNA living in a small town. And I've just luckily been able to transfer and be able to use my business to help give in a lot of other areas. So, I always believe the law of reciprocity: the more you give, the more you get in return without expecting anything in return, is true, right? And you'd be amazed when you do something, how 5 years later or years later, it leaves a mark. And, you mentioned that $25,000 hockey check. That was by far the biggest check we've ever written to anybody. And, myself, my wife, and I not only donated a $25,000 check, but we joined the fundraising committee, and we had a goal. We had to raise $1 million in 12 months. And we brought some of our insurance superpowers and knowledge to the fundraising committee, and we were able to raise 1.2 million in 8 months and build an arena. And we were one of the first sponsors with that $25,000 check. So, when I look back at my career, that's going to be one of the things I remember, not how I quoted 300 people one year or did this. It's giving the check back. That's the kind of thing that leaves a lasting impression on you.
That's cool. So a lot of what we're hearing from the people we're having conversations with is how they learned to give by watching their mom, their grandma, their parents. And you talked about community. Talk a little bit more about how you learned from your community.
Yeah, well, I live in Clinton, Ontario, which is a town of 3,200 people. We're a lot of farming community. Got the farm work ethic. Everybody's very close. Everybody knows everybody's business in a good ways and bad ways, but generally good ways. And if things happen, people all chipped in to help things. I'll be an example. My father, our hockey team made the OFSA hockey championships, and they didn't have enough money to pay the $10,000 to go. So they went around to all the businesses and raised $10,000 in a morning. morning, we threw in $1,000. And that's something a lot of times people did that. And, but, years and years and decades ago, people did it without saying anything. It's not about getting recognized, it's about leaving a difference. So that's what I had all these people as basically as role models for me. So when I got done university, literally within the first month of getting done school, I joined our local Kinsman Club. I wanted to give back. I wanted to help. The motto of the Kinsman Club is to serve the community's greatest need. And we got in the habit of raising hundreds of thousands of dollars and giving it out to different charities and doing a lot of different tasks throughout the year, kind of like Billy does Rotary. Kinsman is a club that, raises money and gives it back. And, I think the biggest thing is seeing what impact, raising money and working together does. And, there's a lot of things in my community I can look around and go, yeah, we built that as a Kinsman Club. I'll throw this out. Our Kinsman Club, before I joined it, built a racetrack in our town and actually got into off-track racing. That our racetrack today still is in Clinton and attracts, tens of thousands of people a year. Again, something a community project did, and a lot of money from the racetrack goes to help different projects. So
Yeah.
it's amazing. Just kind of that's where I, learned from watching everybody else. And then we had to figure out, how do we bring it into our business? And we can talk about later about how we started bringing that into our business and pulling it into start, doing the things we wanted to do.
Yeah. I love the community aspect of it. I think sometimes, particularly in the West, we think so much individualistically, right? But the importance of community and the importance of community teaching values, right, to our kids and to others.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. One thing you said, and I want to emphasize it real quick. I want to kind of put a signpost. I want to just stick a sign in the ground and say how important. You talked about the law of reciprocity. One of my favorite proverbs says that those who refresh people will themselves be refreshed.
Yeah.
There's this idea that if I'm blessing others, I'm going to be blessed. And it might not be monetarily, it might not be in the way that I expect it, but I'm going to have what I need when I'm caring for the needs of others. And that is such an important concept.
I'll throw this out too. Just kind of dovetail off that, Eric. Is I played some senior A hockey. I'm a goaltender, and one of the first people I coached in summer was Justin Peters. Justin, again, it wasn't because of me. I got the opportunity to coach him one summer. He went on to play in the NHL and played for Carolina and a couple NHL teams. And literally yesterday, he just got the head coaching job for the Ottawa Senators. And what I had to do to learn how to coach him, I never really coached a goalie, so I had to read, I had to learn. And, by coaching him, my own personal game improved. So they say, by those who teach, learn twice. So I think by giving, those who give basically get twice in terms of the legacy they leave, the connections they make, and the people that and the experiences they have. It's kind of golden. So I totally dovetail off your comment there, Eric.
So you shared already a little bit of some of the stuff that you're involved in, but what are some of the causes that are like closest to your heart that just tug on you more than others?
Yeah, one of the things I just want to point out quickly too is we had to figure out our Simon Sinek why, and I know Billy's really big on figuring out your vision and values. And Una and I actually had trouble doing this. We spent 6 months going, we donate all this time in the community, we donate hundreds, thousands of hours of time, we give money, we help people out, and then we realized our why was to champion people. And then how do we do that? We go above and beyond to make people's day. What do we do? Well, we sell insurance. Most people are just doing that. So that kind of made it easier, because when we decide to get involved in something, does it fit our why? Are we helping to champion people? So I'll give you some examples of some of the things we do. One of the things that's near and dear to my wife's heart, I want to give her a shout out, Una Roy, is she joined the Hospital Foundation way back in, I think it was the late 90s, early 2000s, and they were raising $35,000 to $40,000 of their gala. And that money goes to keep our hospital open. It buys much needed supplies. So she was able to kind of blow up that gala and turn it into something that brought in 135 to 175,000 per event, which, in our area, that's a huge number to bring in from a town of 3,200 people. But she was able to blow that up, and she did, I think, 7 different galas, raised over $1 million, and it helped keep our hospital here. So that's one of the things that I give her a big shout out and a pat in the back, and very honored for what she's done. That's a huge thing. And she was able to help inspire that. She had a team of people that worked together, but she was the one that had a vision of making that happen. So, the Clinton Hospital Foundation, a big charity we've been part of. The London Knights, we did a sponsorship. They're a junior A hockey team in Canada, probably the most successful one in North America, at least in Canada. Dale Hunter is the coach there, the winningest coach in OHL history. He's probably spit out about 70 different NHL players from the program. We sponsor the Defender of Honor, where we give 2 tickets to somebody in the military, and we have increased it to also for first responders during COVID to give them thanks for all they do. And at the start of the program, they get a standing ovation at center ice. They get free tickets to go to the game, and then sometimes they get to meet the players. So that's something that we call it the Defender of Honor program. That's been near and dear to my heart. Another thing that we do, 2 other things I want to touch on quickly here. We have the Defender Difference program at Excalibur. So we pay people a day off of work and give them up to $1,000 to help a charity of their choice. We had Kathy Cullen here that worked here for 47 years, just retired. Very sad to see her retire, but happy for her. She went for almost 10 years and built schools in El Salvador with that money, and we're honored to be able to support her. So that's an example of, we built the program to enable our staff to do things to help what charity it's important to them. It's not just about what Una and I think, it's about also what our team does. And we want to create a dynamic environment where we can help people leave a difference and leave their footprints on an organization. A lot of people don't remember the work you did, but you remember the legacy you left. And that's very important. And the last thing, kind of our latest one, is a Read to Ride. We took an idea from Chris Paradiso and Canadianized it. And we've been out to, we've ran the program 3 times right now. We've had kids read thousands of hours. We've had kids go up 50, or schools going up 50, 100 different levels of reading. I'm a believer that leaders are readers, and if we can encourage kids to read, they can learn the critical things to help themselves. And I think the best thing I heard is you spend the first 8 years learning how to read, and then you read to learn the rest of your life. And that's why that's really near and dear to my heart. So we actually wrote a kid's book, Artie the Good Knight in the Excalibur Academy. We published it. We give it out to the kids. I think we've sold 700 or 800 copies. I'm happy enough with that, but we're actually, a story that inspires kids, help them to read. And we're just currently, every year, we're doubling how many schools we take it out to. I'd love to see the program reach out right across Canada and become even bigger than what it is and morph out of insurance. But that's another example of something that we're doing that is important. We probably currently sponsor about 40 or 50 different causes, and we try and give a percentage of our profits and make sure we give back to our community. And we look for different areas to, put our money into stuff. Unfortunately, Una and I don't have as much time to donate, but we would donate, hundreds of, if not thousands of hours at sometimes into different things. We'd actually show up and donate. And I think one of the big critical things I think for agents and brokers is you need to be a part of a cause to help the cause, not because you want to get business. And that's where some people join things because, oh, I want to get business, I want to network, which is great, but you got to show up and 100% put your effort into that and ask nothing in return. And that's something that Una and I have always done. We've never joined up anything and said, oh, buy a policy from us. That's not why we're there. We're there to help out. And if people are inspired by what we do and want to do business, that's a different situation. But I think it's important to have that intentionality and a reason why you're doing something.
See, I told you, sorry, Erik, that we could spend an hour and a half with Jeff on this subject. There's 5 or 10 things that he didn't mention that I know of. So that's why it's really important to have you on here to share it, Jeff. And one of the things we wanted to ask you is just, what was something unique or unexpected that you experienced as part of, your giving journey?
I would, like I said, like you bring that hockey check back up, I still think about that. I look at that picture, it gives me chills. It's just great because I look back, I walk into my arena, I don't look at her name on the board, but we have her name still in the dressing room. I walk by it, and every time I walk by it, it kind of gives me a chill of how I worked with some incredible people in our area. We built a community center that, we probably, if we didn't do it that year, we may not have built it. And I looked at how many kids have used it, how it's kind of transformed and become a hub, for a lot of good hockey teams, a lot of kids. I think that's something that I look back and I'm like, wow. And back then, $25,000 was a sum of money that, we, for our size of our business, we probably should never have donated that at that point in our business, but we did it. We took a plunge and we did it because it was the right thing to do. And I felt we just got so much more than that back over the years that if I could do that again, I would do that every time. I probably would donate more. Like, it's such a stretch, but sometimes it's like anything. You stretch yourself a little bit, that's great. I guess the goal, I've run the goalie school for 20 years here. I had to go back out and help some kids last week. Haven't done it, but just forgot how much, seeing kids smile, learn something, build their confidence up, just the little things like that, just to see them having fun and helping them get better and giving them a chance to win. That stuff I remember, like seeing kids, they come in and there's a bunch of guys that shot on, they're like in grade, 7 or 8 years old. Now they're playing junior hockey. They're doing well. And they were great kids back then. And I knew they were going to do well. But just to see kids develop and evolve, that's been kind of, I think amazing. There's a number of things we've done in our area that we've looked back on that there's different signs of things that we've done that you look at and you knew you're part of it, and it just makes you feel good in the cockles of your heart, or gives you a little bit of warmth. So I think that's, we're not looking for anything extraordinary, but I think a bunch of small little wins and just reaffirmation that, hey, this is good, it's making a difference. That's all you want, right?
It's like compounding, man. You've made all these small investments in your community. Then when you look back and it's like this giant kind of impact that you've made. What's one of the reasons that Billy and I are hosting this series is we want to inspire other agents and other people to get involved. And sometimes people might not know how to get involved. So you've already mentioned some things already, but what's one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who wants to become more active but might not know where to start?
Yeah, I think, and Billy could probably give the same thing, but you join a Rotary club or a club in your area that's really community minded and focused, is probably the best thing you do. Kinsman was great for me because I knew I had people from all different walks of life coming in the door. I knew what was going on everywhere. We know what's going on with their lives. All the different community groups are coming to us asking for things. So I knew who was in need and who needed money. I'm still connected with my club. I'll still donate money to them and help out when asked, but I'm not as connected as I was. So you show up and put your time into a good group in your area, that's going to pay dividends. That's going to really open your eyes to what's going on and where the need is. So I think that's one of the best hacks to do that. Another way of doing it is, basically just looking at stuff. Unfortunately, our paper has got very thin, like most papers in small towns. But a lot of the news and stuff would tell people what's going on. A lot of time that's in social media. You can just kind of look around and see what's going on, and make a call. Say, hey, how can we help you?
Yeah.
A lot of times people are just so impressed that you're there to help, and it doesn't take a big check. Sometimes they just need 4 or 5 people to come out and do something, and it just starts with just asking, and the more you ask, the more people you connect with, the more, as we talked about, it compounds at that point. One of the things we did, I didn't talk about it, but we created a community champion award, and what we did is, hey, people that are doing the right thing, and one of our taglines for Excalibur, it's the right thing to do, is we'd find out that, hey, these girls rescued a donkey that was going to die at the side of the road. So we brought them in, we gave them a gift card and flowers, and told the story to everybody else about what they did. They didn't want the story to be told. They didn't do it for that reason, but we highlighted different people that did that. We had 2 girls that didn't want Christmas or birthday presents, and they donated all their money to the Clinton Hospital, and we invited them in. They told their story. Like, that's an example of highlight people doing things right. I feel that with all the negative news, there's 7 negatives to 1 positive story now, because all the journalists and everybody focuses on negative, or people focus on themselves about, hey, here's my 10th best selfie I've done in the last 5 minutes. It's great when you have a chance to really focus on people doing the right thing and doing it, just for no other reason than it's the right thing to do. And that's kind of where our community champion award came in, when we look for excuses and people to give it out. And most of the people, they were so humble, they didn't want the award. And most people, and again, it's a very Canadian thing too, is like, no, I just did it, I don't need to talk about it. But some of those people that are humble and they tell their story is some of the best storytelling you hear. So we need more positive stories in the world. And, our job as brokers and agency owners is to magnify the positivity and help out and set a good example for everybody else.
Jeff, I have talked more or listened to more talk about hockey in the past 15 minutes than I have in the past 15 years. So you're inspiring me not just to get more involved in the community, but to go learn more about hockey.
Good.
Man, thank you so much, man. You are clearly making an impact in your
We're
community.
trying, and it's just like there's always more work to do,
Yeah.
right? There's no finish line. I think Billy and yourself all knew that, right? Like the more you do stuff, the more you realize that you can do more things. And yeah, at the end of your career, I'm gonna ask you guys, the end of your career, you might remember how well your business did, but you remember those things, like Billy, all the work you did on your charity, and I can't wait to hear your episode. That's an example. You're gonna remember that probably even more than your career, maybe, right? That might be one of your top things, right? So I think the agents it's almost selfish, but the more you give, the more you can look back at your career, at your TSN turning points and your highlights, and you have a lot better reel to look at.
I think that's a measurement of successful people is, number one, there's a humility that they feel like they can always grow and become better, right? And then there's always more work to be done. And the
Yeah.
idea of giving, there's always more. I want to do more. I want to do more. And that is a characteristic, Jeff. Don't ever lose that. Appreciate you sharing that with our listeners, man. And thank you for your time this morning.
Hey,
And
thanks,
thank you
Erik.
for your
Thanks, Billy.
example. Yeah, thank you for your example, man. It's awesome. Great.
Well,
You're going to inspire a bunch of other people as
thank
well.
you guys. So you guys have all been inspirations too. So it's great that we can all help each other.